Hey, NAMIC Atlanta family, Happy New Year. I'm Charles Neal. I am the president for NAMIC Atlanta. And today we have a treat. We're starting 2023 off with Loren Hudson, who is the Senior Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer over at Comcast Cable. Happy New Year, Loren. Welcome.
Happy New Year. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. Look, is it starting off well? I mean, for me it is because we have you on board. So thank you for the sponsorship.
Thank you. And yes, it's starting off phenomenally. I'm excited about 2023 and all the things to come.
Yeah, it's going to be a great year. So I wanted to jump in because I wanted individuals to understand a little bit about who you are and the magnitude of the work you're doing, because you were the first Chief Diversity Officer for Comcast Cable. And so, when you talk about somebody being the first there had to be a need, right? And then there had to be a person who could facilitate that need. And so when we're talking about Comcast Cable, we're not talking about, a small organization. And so when we think about that scale of magnitude of what you're working on and who you're working with, talk to me about how you help lead that organization through some of the most troubling times we've just had. I mean, we've had George Floyd, we've had COVID. Now we have macro environments that are kicking us in the butt. So, talk to me about your leadership style and how you help your teams grow and sustain.
So yes, I am the first. I'm the first Chief Diversity Officer for Comcast Cable, and there was a need there, and our organization saw the need, but also answered the call to action. And I have been a part of the organization for 23 years, and diversity, equity, and inclusion has always been a part of who I have been as a leader within Comcast, but well before Comcast, as a child growing up with my parents and in college, DE&I, or really focusing on helping everyone succeed in life and really reach their hopes and dreams, whether it was, as a young adult or as I will call myself a mature adult now. This was really a fantastic opportunity for me. And I was not only honored to be selected, I really took this as an opportunity to really help my teammates who I care for greatly and answer that call to action in the space of talent. And really, when someone said yes to Comcast, that they saw a pathway forward, regardless of their gender or ethnicity, that we were doing the things that really have helped us as not only an operation or a business, but in our communities. Because I will tell you, regardless of what role that you hold at Comcast, being connected to our community is part of who we are, not only as a company, but who we are as people who say yes to these roles. And wanting to give back and help our neighbors and our friends and loved ones has always been key. And then, we have some pretty amazing products and a platform that is absolutely awesome. And so how could we put that to use in a way that really helped from a DE&I perspective, tell untold stories, support filmmakers and creators that didn't necessarily have the same opportunities that others had. So this has been a great role. And when you think about, the business, Comcast is the largest part of the Comcast Corporation portfolio. So when you think about the 75,000 plus employees that we're working with each and every day, and that the lives that we're impacting in the communities that we're serving, it's a pretty special role, and I'm really proud and honored to be the first.
Well, Cable Facts sure thought you were worthy of it, naming you one of the most powerful women in. So, congratulations for that for 2022. But let's put some numbers behind this for a second, right? Because when you start thinking about the scale of Comcast Cable, you guys do approximately about $65 billion in revenue. That's making you one of the largest companies in the country, if not the world, right? And so if you look at the workforce, and we broke it up by say gender, about a third is female. And then if you look up by ethnicity, about 45% is people of color, right? When we start having a conversation around building out executive teams and the follow-on, people who need to understand the impact, right? Because we just said 65 billion. If I talk to you and said, okay, you're the chief diversity officer for $1 billion company, that's something to be proud of. I mean, you're like, yeah, I'm doing it, right? Now, if the impact that you had on the business was even close to what McKinsey's studies look at from, I think their study came from 2014 throughout, where they said companies that build diverse teams are outperforming companies that do not have it by a wide margin. If you look at it, in some cases, about 20% or more. If you were affecting the business by just say 1 or 2% off of a $65 billion revenue base, that's $1.2 billion. So forget being the chief diversity officer for $1 billion company. Your impact is at least $1 billion in change, right? And so talk to me about when you're building out those diverse teams and you know that it's going to hit the bottom line one way or the other, directly or indirectly. How do you go about ensuring that the interview process, and I'm going to be quiet and let you tell me what you do, but from a diversity standpoint, making sure that that executive rank and the middle management rank and the individual contributors ranks are all coming in and adding to the vision that you're putting forward as a chief diversity officer?
So you are absolutely right about everything you just said, right? So when you think about what is the business reason for diversity, is that it's been proven that diverse teams are a better business decision, period. It creates innovation, idea generation, all the things that are important to a successful business. So when you think about what we're doing here at Comcast, we're doing a few things. One is that we're ensuring that we have diverse slates, that we have diversity representation when we have an open role, that we have diverse interviewing panels, because we know that's important too. But most importantly, we're looking at how people are where their areas of opportunity are from a space of diversity. And I think a lot of people tend to go to gender and race or ethnicity, but there are other ways that you should be looking at diversity too. The people with disabilities community, veteran status, LGBTQ plus community. There is so much that we need to factor in when you're thinking about diversity of a team, tenure, age, so I love having these discussions, because when you look at a team and you can see it within the walls of Comcast, and I'm sure within many of the other operators' walls, that when you truly have a team that's diverse, what they are able to accomplish together is pretty significant from a bottom line perspective, but also from an innovation, morale, teamwork perspective. Like your engagement levels usually are very high there, motivation is very high, workplace very high, because they're really feeding off of each other, and they're bringing their authentic selves into the workplace, into the way they operate, the way they bring their business plans together, the way they execute on them, the way they're hiring and developing. All of those things come together to really get to that point that you're talking about, which is they're impacting the bottom line, right? And so we try to do that here at Comcast in many ways. I talked about the interviewing. I talked about the panels. We look at we have gig opportunities, which is that if you have a role in your team and you don't necessarily, let's just say, for example, you have a short-term project and you want to bring someone in, and you have a skill set that you're looking for, you can post that as a gig and someone can apply to it, and you can bring in this new thought generator, this new person that really kind of gives your team a different perspective. And not only are they contributing to your team, but you're contributing to them too. So we're looking at different ways that people can navigate their careers internally, to really help build on their, wherever their career trajectory may want to go or be, but also how they can impact the operations and really attach their name to something that they found value in, right? That they wanted to be a part of. And it's giving them exposure and experiences that maybe would not have come along because it wasn't a full-time, permanent role, but there was a need. I had the opportunity to meet a gentleman who was a technician, and he had been a technician for quite some time. He did a gig opportunity, and he ultimately landed this new role because of this gig. And it was funny when we were having the conversation, not funny, haha. It was funny that he was at this pivoting point in his career where he was thinking, should I stay or should I go? Because I had been in this career path for so long, I wanted to do something new. And so this gig was posted, he put his name in the hat and he was selected, created this new relationship, developed some new skill sets, but also brought forward the skill sets that he brought to the role. And voila, now he's in a brand new organization, a brand new role, and really quite happy with where he's going. So we're really looking for different ways to not only innovate, but also to energize our workforce and look at the different things or different pathways to ensuring that there is diversity on a team.
The interesting part about that, or at least to me, is that you guys are trendsetters. A company of that scale, when you roll out these programs, it cascades down throughout the industry, right? So you have smaller companies, even companies from different industries watching what you do and saying, okay, that's a best practice. Let's start implementing that. And then it obviously feeds on itself because maybe you watch other, industries or other companies do that as well. But, part of me wants to know, how do you manage that aspect of it internally? We're like, man, we did some good work this year, because it has to be fulfilling, because you're not, like I said, you're hitting the bottom line. That's one aspect of it, but you're also enriching lives, right? And that at a certain stage is it probably overcomes the need for just that metric-based accomplishment when you can see people growing and look back and know that they started here. Actually, let me ask you this question. Do you guys measure? How do you measure the success factors of your different programs? Is it something where you're saying, okay, we started here, we baseline it, and we see tangible gains, or?
So we measure what I would say we do. Yes, we measure. So we can measure if someone's in a program or they're in a pilot program. We'll see, did something happen to them? And let me be clear with what something happening may mean. So it could be a promotion. It could be gaining scope. It could be gaining a new sponsor or a mentor, but some type of positive impact has taken place because we've made this investment in our people. And that's really important because I think sometimes people equate a title or a promotion or, a monetary gain. And that's not always what a win is to a person, because that person we really need to understand, like, what does this mean to you? What are you looking to get out of it so that we can ensure that we are on the same page? And so that's exactly where we measure, which is, was there a scope increase? What did you move into a new role, and not necessarily a promotion, but maybe a lateral move that was helping you get to that next move within your organization? Did it provide you access to a new group of leaders or a new team that's going to benefit you and where you want to go, in the future? So it's a stepping stone. So we try to look at engagement as a success and look at exactly what that person is getting out of whatever it may be that we've invested in them, to ensure that we're not just saying, is it a promotion? Is it, is it that? Because various points of diversity, equity, and inclusion are wins, and it doesn't always equate to, a promotion or compensation or something of that nature. I can even tell you in the storytelling that I see people sharing about their experiences, about the culture we have created where you bring your authentic self to work, and I can share what is happening with me personally and professionally. You can see it in the investment that people are making in our development portal, that people want to continue to learn and grow. And so you have to really get underneath, like, what are you looking for from success measures, and not just have the normal,
KPIs.
the normal things KPIs that people are looking for. There are so many things that are really important to your people, and you have to get underneath those and understand them.
So you come out with this big vision, or even some incremental steps within your vision, and you sell it to the executives, right? They buy in. How do you make sure that cascades down to, the director, senior director, executive director level? within the organization? Is there some training that you guys, what's the best practices that you're putting in place to say, this is cascading and we know across the board, we have an organization that promotes DE&I at its core?
I will tell you that, yes, I think we have to start with our senior leadership, because whatever senior leadership makes important is important, right? So when we say diversity, equity, inclusion is important from the senior most levels, people understand that this is what we're going to do as an organization. I would say right after that, we go to what we will call our councils. And so these councils are made up of employees, teammates at all levels. And that's important, right? Because you need to have buy-in at all levels of the organization. You need to have promoters at all levels of the organization. And quite honestly, the feedback before you go to, I would say, the large market, the broader enterprise, it's really important that you get that feedback from the various levels within your organization to ensure that your message is going to resonate with everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone. And we do that really, really well. And what happens, because we do that so well, is that things take off, as we start communicating and cascading messages, it just takes off, like people just buy in and they start posting and promoting and raising their hand. And the worst thing that I have to do in my job is say, oh my gosh, all the seats are filled, or something's happening, let me put you on the waiting list. But it really is something that happens within this organization, because we have people that are so invested in the work that they're willing to work with us. They're willing to tell our story. They're willing to cascade messages. They're willing to tell others about it so that they can be part of, whatever it is that we're launching. That it's pretty magnificent that you see like that buy-in, you see that commitment, and not only the commitment to themselves, but their commitment to their fellow teammates. And I tell you, that's my best practice, is that your table, what I will call your board of directors, after your senior leadership has said yes, it should be diverse.
Yeah.
It should represent all levels of your organization, because your message needs to resonate for everyone. Everyone.
Yeah. I'm going to pivot us for a second. But before I do that, I could feel the energy. I could feel the passion, and I could understand how infectious it would be, especially when you are looking around and everybody's looking back at you like, yeah. Oh, wait a minute, this is standing room only. You can't even get in this room because we're doing such good work. So, congrats on that. I want to pivot for a second because part of what we do at NAMIC, right, is we really try to hunker down on networking and getting people to understand the power of their networks, right? And first of all, you got to start with understanding your network before you can even worry about expansion of your network, right? But if you were talking to, some early individuals in their career, early career individuals, what would you say to them is the value add or the importance of networking, getting to know people? Once again, I'm going to button it up and let you go ahead.
It's important to have a network for many reasons, especially I think back when I was young in my career, there were some people that naturally kind of put me in certain networks, right? But I will tell you, when someone always asks me a question like, what would you tell your younger self? I would tell my younger self that you didn't do those networks the justice that you should have, because there was just a lack of awareness at that point. And so I always tell younger people, we're younger and career folks, is that it's really important to feed. It's like I call it like a savings account. You have to make regular deposits into your network, because you don't sometimes you can anticipate a withdrawal, but there are going to be times where you really need to lean into that network, or that network leans into you that you don't anticipate. And so staying connected, coming to meetings or conventions or conferences with the intent to connect and feed into those relationships, following up, making sure that if someone gives you from your network, if you reach out to someone and say, hey, can you connect with me with something or someone, can you review my resume, I want to apply for this role, do you know in that organization, that network, it makes a deposit into you, make sure you follow up. and tell that person what happened. Thank them for the advice
Yeah.
that they gave and the action that you're going to take, right, from that feedback. Or the follow up of, thank you for connecting. This is what happened. This is the role, whatever it may be. But closing that loop and making sure that that person understands that you place value in what they gave you, what they the investment that they made in you, and that you will always be there to pay that back. Networks are really key, especially for you, especially in your early parts of your career. But I would say throughout your career, you always are going to make sure you need to always make sure that you have a network, and understand that you're going to have to evaluate that as you shift and you pivot, to ensure that the network that you have is supporting you and elevating you in a way that helps you move forward too.
Thank you for that, Gem, because that'll be one of my focus areas in 2023 is to make sure you follow back up. I mean, on the majority of items, I know I am following up because I'm constantly just pinging people on different things, but adding in that feedback that says, this is how it turned out. I don't know if I've been sharp on that. So I appreciate that. The other part for me that I would add into that is when you go in, don't go in looking for something, or if you are being intentional about looking for it, I get that, but it's really about how you serve, right? Don't go in thinking I'm going to get all of these people are going to be doing all these different things for me, as opposed to what you're going to be giving to people, because that's the service aspect of it. But I appreciate that nugget, because that's something that I have to be more conscious and aware of. Mentorship and sponsorship. When we look at your rise, I'm pretty sure you were mentored, and I know you pay it back by mentoring individuals. How valuable is that? And then what's that transition between mentorship and sponsorship that you would give people advice on? Because they're not the same.
They are not the same. So mentorship is key. Mentorship is key for everyone. And a little bit like your network, your mentors probably will evolve as you evolve in your roles, as you evolve in life. But mentors are really there to be what I call my safe space that I go to with, my when I'm preparing for a new role, if I have an idea that I'm trying to flesh out. They're really my safe space for hopefully open, honest feedback that I that
Right.
I need to hear, but also encouragement and support in the spaces that I also need to hear. Right, like you absolutely. If you, then who? Like all the things that a mentor should do to help lift you up and help you in your aspirations. That and you should give back, right? As someone invests in you, you should be investing in others.
Yeah.
We all have to help that go up that ladder together. And I think about all the people that have helped me in my career. I would be doing them a disservice if I didn't help others in their careers. And I love it. I love hearing the different perspectives, because quite honestly, what I get out of my mentees is as much as I hope I give them through the conversations, through their ideas, through their energy. I feed off of that. So it's not just a one way, it's a two-way relationship, which is necessary for me as a human being, but
Yeah.
as a leader, it truly is. And that's not for everyone. But I will tell you again that mentors have made a huge impact on me, and I will continue to pay it forward. Sponsors. Now, sponsors are people that you may not necessarily engage with every day, but they are the people who will speak your name in rooms that you have no idea about, right? So for whatever reason, you have met, you engaged, you have become part of this person's world, and you connect with them enough for them to be aware of you, up to date on your skill sets, where you want to go, what you want to do. So maybe not like the regular conversations that you're having with your mentor, but enough that they can, off the top of their head, when they hear a project or they hear a role or an idea, they're like, huh, Charles would be a good person for that. You should reach out to them or let me connect them. And I will tell you, it was sponsors that presented this role to me. right? It wasn't someone that I directly worked for. It was sponsors that probably, I would say, whispered my name in rooms that I was not in. And that's what sponsors do for you. And so that goes back to the comment I made earlier, that sponsors are ones that, you follow up with. If they connect you with someone, or they whisper your name, because it ultimately comes out. In some way, somehow you find out that someone was the whisperer, and you want to reach out to them and say, I just want you to know, keep you update on, this is the interviewing process, or this is the project, or this is what's happening with me. You just want to make sure that, again, you continue to feed that relationship. And sponsors are key for everyone. It is important that you understand who your sponsors are where you can. And sometimes you'll have sponsors that you don't even know about, you have no idea about. But if you find out that they are a sponsor, make sure that you connect with them and invest in them. And mentors, again, I think you just go back to, depending on where you are in your career, where you are in life, there are going to be mentors that will stay with you. They may shift a little bit, depending on what you're doing, but you should always assess and make sure that you have the right mentor at the right time.
Yeah.
And you can have more than one.
Oh, many, right?
Right.
Different skills require different mentors in some cases, right? Peaks and valleys. You hit on a point that earlier that is just jarred me, where representation matters, right? Sponsors come in all shapes, sizes, ages, etc. But in some cases, because of unconscious bias creep, it is it, there's a different level of comfort that comes when you have built those diverse teams. And it's not a point in time diverse team. It's a span of time where you can have enough representation, diverse representation in rooms where sponsorship is not coming from an unlikely place. It's coming from people that you may have more community with than you would otherwise have. And so that's another, I go on and on about conversations I've had in the past with people that get them to understand unconscious bias and some of the negative, well, a lot of the negative pitfalls that we come in, and how over time you have to weed that unconscious bias out to be able to have that diverse pool that then allows for the requisite mentorship and sponsorship that is required for a real internal organic growth to happen, as opposed to external people coming into your organization because of other areas. But I want to get you out of here on this, right? Because I always love finding out what people's passions are. When I found out some of yours, I know you're into health and wellness, and I won't call you a fitness junkie, but I do know that you keep in great shape, right? But also, talk to me about your love for theater, and you used to play the piano and the flute. Are those still passions of yours? Does that help you de-stress when it's a bad day, week, year, month, quarter?
Yeah. So yes, I am a wellness somewhat junkie. And I think for me, I can't, if I'm not taking good care of myself, I can't take good care of others. And so I need to be my best self so I can be my best self to others. So that's the way I always think of it. Yes, it has to do with my overall health, but it also has to do with, I want to make sure that I'm in the best shape possible to serve my family, but also to serve my teammates. Um, and so from a theater buff, because I no longer play the piano or my flute, I think theater has just become, I've always actually loved the theater. I used to theater, flute, and piano always used to be one. But yeah, my daughters both actually play my one daughter plays my flute from when I was a child. My other daughter plays my sister's flute. So my sister and I both play the flute, and now my girls both play. My son has no musical interest. But the piano is one that you never forget. So I still have my childhood piano at my parents' home. So whenever we're there, I play. I love playing musical instruments, which is, again, I think why I love theater. I love musical theater. Love all theater, but musical theater is one. Over the holiday, we went to New York, and and my kids love it too now, which is fantastic. So we went to see MJ. So that was a great experience. But Yes, my one of my passions is theater, shopping, traveling, reading, all of those things. I could be very busy doing the things that other things outside of work that I love. But you know what? I mean, I had to tell you this. I think all the things I love doing bring me back to people, and that's why I love them. So, my family always jokes when they walk up to me, like in the mall or grocery store, I'm talking to somebody. I've met someone new, like they're sharing their perspective. I get lost at conferences generally because I'm talking to someone and they're so enthralled with their conversations. People are really important to me, and learning about their backgrounds and their perspectives and hearing about them really just fills my cup. And so everything that I love to do really brings me, except for reading, probably brings me back to, because I do that by myself. But everything else brings me back to being with people.
So you identify more with being, I guess, a natural extrovert.
I do. Yeah. I would say I'm a natural extrovert, but I do need to have some introvert time
Yeah.
to like
You
rejuvenate,
talk.
which is
Yeah.
my wellness piece, I'll tell you.
Okay. Well, we're at time, Loren. I really appreciate you. I don't think there was a better way that we could start 2023 off. I know that during the year we're going to see each other at several of the circuit events and everything. I just can't wait to, actually to sort of double down on some of the things that you talked about, because there are a couple of new things in my ear that I'm like, okay, well, what are you reading? And and others. But appreciate you. Glad you were able to join and have you. And for the NAMIC Atlanta family, dig deep, check out what Lauren's doing. Check her out on LinkedIn. You'll always see events that she's at, events that she's speaking at. And if you ever have an opportunity to speak to her or hear her speak at any of the events, take it, because she's a treasure. So, Lauren, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, and Happy New Year.
Happy